We'll just take 2 more minutes and we'll start.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the very first episode of Inspire. Inspire is a documentary style series by Education Initiatives, a series that celebrates schools where students are truly learning with understanding. Students are not just memorizing content. Our theme today is from understanding to application at the Kumarans Group of Schools. Um, it's an opportunity to reflect on what happens when a school's values, um, teaching practices, classroom instructions, and vision are aligned and consistently show up in the classroom and how students learn. My name is Saiqua Sultan, and I lead the social sciences team at Educational Initiatives at EI. I work on content development and pedagogical research. Um, Over the past 20 years, I have worked closely with teachers across the country. I have designed assessments, I built classroom instructions and resources, worked on professional development of teachers, and basically I collaborated with teachers and thought about how to make learning more meaningful and lasting for students, and that's what I still do and I love to do at EI. And possibly this is the reason why I guess Inspire and theme around which Inspire is built, the thought process behind Inspire, it resonates with me. Inspire is a place, it's a space to learn from schools that are doing the quiet but steady, focused work of improving learning in real ways, in practical ways that matter. It feels very special to begin Inspire series with the Kumarans Group of Schools, a long-standing partner with EI, and a partnership that truly lives the idea of learning with understanding every single day. I would like to welcome Mrs. Deepa Sridhar. I'd like to introduce her. Mrs. Deepa Sridhar leads the Sri Kumarans Children's Home Educational Council, one of South India's most respected school groups, with a vision that's both grounded and it looks forward. It's futuristic, it's forward looking. Ma'am has carried forward the legacy of founders Srimati R.A. Devi and Mrs. Meenakshi Balakrishnan with the kind of grace that you all will be introduced to once she starts speaking. I've already had conversations with ma'am before. the grace, and she brings that strong child-focused, child-centered approach to everything that the school does. Under ma'am's leadership, the Kumarans Group has continued to blend tradition with innovation. And all of that being done while holding core values of humility and empathy and integrity intact, and preparing students to thrive in this very ever evolving world, which is always in a flux. What stands out the most is how deeply ma'am believes in the role of both the teacher and the student as co-learners, as co-creators in the classroom. Ma'am has helped shape a school culture that values not just academic achievement, but also character, curiosity, and I think the most important trait, and that is to develop in our kids, and that is compassion. Ma'am's approach to discipline is reflective. It's not rigid to what usually traditionally we see as norms for discipline. It's a belief in children's potential in all its forms that comes through in every aspect of the school's work. She brings to education what we need, truly need today, and that is the 3C model. But here, the 3C model is clarity, care, and the courage to keep thinking, to keep innovating, and keeping the child in the center of everything that we do. Deepa ma'am is in conversation today with me and Nisha Murali from Educational Initiatives, my colleague. Nisha, she brings with her a rich and varied journey. She's worked across, she's worn many hats. She's worked across banking, tech, and education, and she brings with her that rare ability to connect the dots across these different worlds. After years of corporate space, Nisha has she made a bold and beautiful decision. I think even I did that when I chose education to be my field. So Nisha made that bold decision to shift into education. And she has spent 5 years teaching middle school math and science classes across both Indian and international curricula. And that particular aspect of her teaching journey, it has given her a real grounded understanding of what teaching and learning looks like on the ground in the classrooms. Today, Nisha works as a lead academic consultant at EI, where she partners with schools and teachers to turn assessment insights into meaningful classroom, actionable action and pedagogical practices. Again, with Nisha, what stands out is her ability to make data feel very human, and it's not just really about numbers on the screen, but stories about how children learn and where are they struggling, where the learning gaps are, where the misconceptions are, and how we can help. Nisha is thoughtful, she's practical, and she's deeply committed to helping schools move from intention to real lasting impact. Welcome, Nisha and Deepa ma'am, to today's session, the first
Thank you
chapter
so
of
much.
Inspire. So before we begin our conversation, we will take a few minutes to watch the Kumarans episode of Inspire. And before the episode, before the video, I would like to tell our audience this evening to please add your questions, any comments, any questions that you have to the Q&A section, and we will address this towards the end of the session. So let's watch the video. At the heart of education innovation, the Sri Kumarans Group of Schools exemplifies a symphony of collaboration. Here, three curricula under one noble mission unite to redefine excellence. It's a narrative of holistic development where the growth of a child isn't benchmarked by a board but by the milestones of personal and academic achievements. Director Deepa Sridhar's vision illuminates every classroom, every lesson plan, every smile. It's the vision of nurturing not just learners, but thinkers, creators, empathetic individuals.
I think our emphasis has also been in promoting values, good values to our children so that they are grounded. We try to ensure that the children are humble, the children are righteous, the children are punctual, they have the right sense of communication, they also take ownership and they are responsible and accountable.
The values
Let's just wait for a couple of minutes. We should be right back. I think there's a technical glitch.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for the technical glitch. I'm back. So we have gone through the video. That was the I missed. Sure.
Sorry, Saiqua, say that again.
Yeah, have we gone through the video? That was a bit, I
No,
think
not the
that's
full
what
video. No.
I missed due to the. Okay, yeah. Let's
We have
just
to
wait
watch the-
to and watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the feeling that we are heard. They have no teachers for
PSC, ICSC, and state board schools converge to share, to grow, to inspire one another. This is a place where teaching methodologies transcend academic curricula, creating a cohesive narrative of excellence. Quietly accompanying them on this journey, EI has been a partner, not merely in resources, but in philosophy. Together, they have crafted environments where educational solutions like diagnostic assessments and personalized adaptive learning tools are woven into the fabric of daily education, enabling scientifically designed, holistic learning experiences.
Kumarans' journey with EI started when you probably started off as a young institution yourself. We started off right away for all the schools because we felt that asset was more contextual based, and we felt that asset was definitely had an Indian context, which I thought was very, very important.
It's a unified approach that extends beyond the educators to the students themselves, engaging in a partnership that enriches the education journey. Facilitating this exchange, EI's suite of products serve as board agnostic platforms, fostering a shared language of innovation and understanding.
When I joined, much later we started taking up asset. Questions are so creative. The questions allows the children to think about what is there in their environment or what they have studied in a different way. The children have also changed, and along with that, there is definitely a change in the mindset of the teachers.
Here, the sharing of best practices
isn't just encouraged, it's celebrated. As teachers from each school bring their unique perspectives, they collectively enhance learning at Kumarans.
We have teachers of across different streams also interact. What happens is that best practices of our school and their school are discussed and they pick up from each other. So again, so this helps us move away from traditional, chalk and talk methods of teaching. So that in turn benefits the students.
The proof lies in the pupils themselves, thriving in an atmosphere where education is not just about the grades, but about growing every day, recognizing kindness, embracing wellness, and engaging in collaborative problem solving.
I feel like DA does not only subject us to only our school exam papers, but it gives us exposure to people outside also. And if in school exam papers you're getting good marks and you're not able to do well in DAs, then there's a loophole somewhere in your preparation or something, because we need to be well equipped for even external examinations.
In the voices in this symphony of learning,
Number of leading schools across the country have been using EI products like Asset, Cares and Einspire for decades now. And if somebody asked us to name a few schools that kind of epitomize the effective use of these products, Sri Kumarans would definitely be one of them. One of the things that we have been struck by, and this is a study we had done where we were looking at the impact of the board on a school, because like there's perception that CBSE schools are of a certain type, ICSE schools and state boards offer certain kinds of education. And when we did this study, we found that when a certain school is using certain methods which are effective, this kind of shows up clearly. And I often think of Sri Kumarans when I think of this, because Sri Kumarans has different campuses which run the state board curriculum, the CBSE curriculum, the ICSE curriculum. And when you look at the overall performance and you see where are these schools doing, you just find that all of them are doing on top. Sri Kumarans uses Asset, it also uses Cares, it also uses Mindspark, and their processes for implementing them are so streamlined that I have heard our ACAD team come and tell us that the teachers there know all this more than what we could tell them. They have been doing it and have so much experience on the ground in terms of using these products.
In the end, it is this collaboration, the shared heartbeat of Sri Kumarans Group of Schools that resonates with the core of what education should be: boundless, inclusive, and holistic, and a testament to the potential of a synergic bond with a learning partner that believes in working with the schooling system in creating impact not only through educational solutions, but also by building a legacy of learning together.
I hold on to your finger as I follow my next steps. That's so beautiful. Thank you everybody for watching, and I would like to take a moment to apologize for the technical glitches from our end. My apologies for that. Moving back to the video the short film. What makes Kumarans so special? And there's so much behind the scenes that we'd love to unpack right now and with our speakers today. So let's hear directly from the people who make it happen. Deepa ma'am, I'd love to begin with you. Could you take us through the core philosophy behind your school's approach to learning and what you believe sets Kumarans apart in the current educational landscape?
Thank you for inviting me for your first webinar and wishing you all the very best, wishing EI the very best. If I have to say what our core philosophy is, I would say it's holistic development. And I know it's a very cliched term, but then as a school, right from the beginning, right from the time we started, we always believed that it was very important to create a supportive learning environment that just goes beyond textbooks. So, children engage in different kinds of learning. It could be project-based learning, it could be flipped classrooms, it could be multidisciplinary approaches. And all these, definitely foster critical and creative thinking. And when we talk about holistic development, we do have curated programs to provide children various opportunities in leadership and in promoting their art, their aesthetic talents, and things like that. And when we come to the academic environment, I think our assessments and assignments are very thoughtfully designed to probably ignite that intellectual curiosity. At a time, I'm talking about a decade ago, everybody was talking about smart boards. That was probably the very in thing at that point of time. But to just give you an example, we very consciously had avoided this preloaded smart boards, where all the lessons are available in a digital format, where the teachers just have to go click a button and everything comes there. But, it doesn't mean that we are away from technology, but we use interactive boards, which allows children to dynamically engage students, collaborate through shared lesson plans and resources. And we also use our formative assessments, our summative assessments, and diagnostic tests like ACID, to derive insights and probably tailor interventions to enhance the student learning outcomes. And if you've seen the video, we're thankfully away from the city. So we have, a lot of space, a lot of open spaces. And there has been a purposeful use of open spaces and courtyards to give children a sense of connection with nature. And these spaces are designed to be extensions of the classroom, allowing children to learn beyond the walls of the classroom. So these small, sort of insights or steps that we've taken have probably helped us, and this is our core philosophy, and we hold on to it and we try to tweak it, when the educational landscape changes.
That's so insightful in terms of talking about very practical solutions, ma'am, like shared resources or shared lesson plans and insights from questions themselves that they kind of drive the conversation the students and teachers have in the classroom. That what was it that you couldn't understand at a particular point in time when I was teaching the concept? How data drives that, and that's so beautifully put. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing that deeply, and it's thought-provoking, right? And the perspective of ensuring that, and I will go back to what I said in the beginning, that making students and teachers co-creators. They are co-planners in the learning journey of the students. And in my career as a teacher, I've realized that the more the students went wrong somewhere in the assessments, the more I learned about my own teaching practices, where I was going wrong and where I could not understand what they were thinking, the child's point of view. So that definitely makes both children and teachers as co-learners in this journey. And every year is a new journey. That's the beauty of teaching. Every year is a new journey for us. And what you shared right now, it brings out the intent behind your school's approach, and it gives us all, well, me especially, a lot to reflect on. Coming to Nisha now. So Kumarans has been one of EI's longest standing partner schools. And I wanted to know from you, Nisha, that what does this long mutual, this standing partnership of 2 decades, what does it mean to EI, and how has it influenced the way EI builds its products and how it works with schools?
Thanks so much, Saiqa. Welcome, Deepa ma'am. Nice to have you here. So to answer your question, Saiqa, the 20-year partnership with Kumarans is incredibly special to EI. I would say it's more than just a long association. It's been more of a journey of mutual learning and growth. So Kumaran's deep commitment, I would say, to academic excellence and innovation has consistently challenged us to raise the bar. The honest feedback that we get, the openness to experimentation, high expectations that have been set have definitely impacted how we build our products, making them more relevant, rigorous, and definitely rooted in real classroom needs, which is what we need. This relationship has also influenced how we think about partnerships. Working with a school like Murals for 2 decades teaches you the actual value of trust, consistency, and deep collaboration. Kumarans has contributed towards EI moving from being a learning solutions and assessment provider to a thought partner in improving student learning. We are extremely proud of this shared journey, and it continues to inspire how we work with every school today.
I think I resonate with what you said, that if there is a free-flowing conversation between EI and when we create content, when we're sitting at our desks and we're creating content, and once the content goes out, like asset questions go out with teachers, it's the conversations you have after that. When teachers bring that unique perspective of, this is why we go to schools and we have these student interviews and we interact with teachers. It's the unique perspective the teachers gave of the classroom situation. Yeah. And you know what? When you gave this question, that was the thought that came in my child's mind. That, what about we are talking about, say, maybe McDonald's, or we are talking about something that is very commonplace, a term to use in metro cities, but might not be something that students in a small city in say Punjab would be able to connect with that. So teachers bring that perspective that's so rich, it's so rich and valued, and that kind of guides the people who are behind the desk, and we are creating content and we are thinking of ways to bring real life context in these questions. It kind of guides us towards creating more, like, better assessments, diagnostic assessments for our children and the teachers. So thank you so much, Nisha, for sharing that. And it's like you beautifully articulated what a partnership actually looks like. It's symbiotic in nature. It feeds into each other's. So wherever you have these spaces that need to be built upon, and that's what partnerships do. And it's heartening to hear how Kumarans has helped EI shape its own thinking, and just as EI has supported Kumarans' journey. Coming back to you, Deepa ma'am, I'd love to go deeper into how Kumarans, we're talking about holistic development, and how are we nurturing that, and what are these practices, how these practices came into being, and what are these real life practices that we are actually implementing in the classrooms, and what does it reveal about the school's larger vision?
I think the first thing I would like to tell you, which I think some of the schools or most of the schools do, that is daily affirmations. These positive affirmations, for example,
Yes.
our children say this every day, each day, in every way, we are getting better, better, and better. Now, this might sound very, like other children are able to, understand this, but I think what happens is that it starts working at a subconscious level at some point of time, and then it probably replaces those self-limiting beliefs, with more empowering thoughts, creating a very positive mindset. And having a background in psychology, I feel it's a very self-fulfilling prophecy. You keep saying that everything good is happening to me, it will happen to you. And I think this, we start off very young, as early as probably in our nursery level, and we continue it till our children leave school. And I've heard students coming back and telling us that, ma'am, these, sounded just statements, but now we understand the whole gamut of emotions that goes behind it and how it has helped us in our lives. And if I have to talk about another one, is caught being good. As a school, we always believe in reinforcing positive behavior. So when children see that good behavior is recognized, right from the beginning, then it becomes a second nature to them. So it could be at an individual level. We also work at a classroom level where we have a monthly goal calendar, which probably helps children to track their own behavior and, and also ensure that whether they have achieved their class goals and things like that. It's probably very, very simple, but very effective for children. And the idea of this is to catch children doing right rather than wrong. Because many a times we punish children for, their behavior, but we never say, wow, you've done well, So that is, we work on a positive mindset. And as a school, we've always believed in working on that inner discipline in children. Can we allow you to be more reflective about your behavior so that, as you grow older, you don't have to have people telling you what is right and what is wrong, and probably your value system will help you to do that. And another thing we started off, it was, mindfulness, especially post-COVID. The digital overload that the children probably had those 2 years, and also being cramped in their houses, not being able to interact with, people of their own age and things like that. We felt that it was very important for us to help the children to slow down. And, there was so much of digital noise. And, we evolved our own curriculum, which is called the mindfulness curriculum, which probably helped children to slow down, reconnect with themselves. And we felt that if it is practiced consistently through a very structured and age-appropriate curriculum, and it's guided by our teachers. We have teachers who have been trained by our own teachers. We felt that it improves focus, it improves emotional regulation. And that was very, very important as a post-COVID phase. Children had, they had to learn how to regulate their emotions. I'm not saying that we have created wonders overnight. The shift is very gradual, but it's very visible both in the students as well as the teachers.
You've said some really powerful words right now. Emotional regulation.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, I can tell you that usually in the race of trying to finish the curriculum, trying to finish the syllabus, getting those tests done, it becomes very difficult for teachers to actually move beyond that and think of emotionally regulating children, or rather in terms of how do you regulate your emotion. Then mindfulness, it is so important, especially if you think about mindfulness. And I have seen that when we do student interviews post-ACIT, where we say that, okay, why did you answer this particular question this way? Why did you choose this particular option? They say, oh, I did not read the entire question. It's the jumping ahead. Okay, let me take and let me move on. If you mindfully read something, the answer will come to you. It's logical thinking. The answer will come to you. So the mindfulness is so important. In fact, I've actually been writing these terms down because daily affirmations, and it's so beautiful a thought, daily affirmations, because we've been like discussing this amongst, our team members only, and we tend to send out, we are working in a company right now, and we still send out warm fuzzies every morning to each other. And warm fuzzies in the way that I love the fact that you stood with me that day and you heard me out. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful friend. And so not only self-affirmations, which help they help so much in building your confidence, being able to say that, you know what, respectfully disagree with what you are saying, and I would like to put my thought forward. Students are so scared of saying that. But these daily affirmations, I'm sure you must have seen a jump in their confidence as well. In terms of, I'm listening to you, I understand what you're saying, but at least I have that confidence to be able to come up and say that I just maybe disagree with you here, and these are my thoughts for this piece. So that is so important. And mindful curricula, I think
Saiqua has a little bit of a power issue on her end.
Yes. She has a very animated expression.
Just paused at the right moment.
Yeah.
Maybe just join back in a couple of minutes, ma'am. She will maybe join back in.
So as I was saying, these positive affirmations, when you keep saying that to yourself that, you're doing good, you're feeling good, that is a self-fulfilling prophecy, you're kind of helping children. Otherwise, it's a cruel world outside and children
Very
tend to
true,
get, so if we kind of teach them these things, it probably would help them a little bit later. Yeah,
It's
she's
always
back.
very easy to absorb the negative energy around us. So as
Yeah.
much as we can, if we keep reinforcing the positive vibes, it definitely does.
Definitely does. Yes, Saiqua, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm so sorry. I tend to I'm exiting and entering now. And I really wanted to ask that about the curriculum that we have created for the students. This is for which classes, ma'am? Which grades?
We have now developed it for classes 1, 2, and 3, and we're slowly developing it for
Lovely.
the higher classes too. But then,
Yeah. And how do we?
But then in the higher
Yeah.
classes, they do a lot of gratitude journaling. And where
Oh, lovely. Gratitude
yes,
journaling. Lovely.
gratitude journaling is part of their this one. So that also
Amazing.
probably helps them. But yes, we're slowly, taking one class at a time at one class
Yeah.
to be able to do it.
That's amazing. And I feel personally, and I think Nisha would agree with us because we were just discussing about this, that gratitude journaling, it actually leads to improved civic engagement. When you are grateful for the things and you feel that you are connected to them and then you become responsible for them. Small things, it's a broken bench in a public park. So the more grateful you are for things, and it's so important to actually journal these thoughts down. So thank you so much for sharing that, ma'am. And it's such a it's wonderful way to develop the students. Again, a holistic development in terms of what the students are thinking and what they are feeling. One point that I wanted to mention here at this juncture, I would like to mention to our audience once again to please send your questions in the Q&A section. Keep sending to us. Towards the end, we'll try to take some of your questions. Coming back to you again, Deepa ma'am, we often say that empowered teachers, they empower students. The more you empower teachers, the more they empower learners. I would like you to take us through Kumaran's support, how they support the educators, the teachers, through professional development and wellness initiatives.
Okay, let me talk about the wellness initiatives first, and it's very close to my heart. I mean, today teachers, juggle with multiple roles and responsibilities. It's, they have to do so many different, they play so many different roles in the school. And, most of them are also managing their home as well as, coming back to school and, helping the children. So their well-being is a priority. And so we as a school have always believed that, you have to, let wellness programs be a part of, the initiatives that we have for our teachers. It could be as simple as going for it. I mean, we are thankfully away from the city humdrum. So, our teachers go have a nature walk on a Saturday morning, or, there would be hobby-based sessions. We did mudra, teaching mudras for the teachers and, how it can help them, in their day-to-day life. We have hobby-based sessions. Some of our teachers are good at various kinds of hobbies. If I want to learn a crochet from another, so we kind of do all this. And in a way, it eases teachers to a very, very large extent. And, they also feel, happy, they feel empowered at the end of the day. And I think these wellness initiatives have been a great hit. Now, for example, from this year, we all go on treks. I mean, when on a Sunday morning, we kind of try to do a half a day trek or a couple of hours treks. Those who are interested, and we all get together. It's not only, all the 7 campuses, the teachers come together, and what, bonding exercises happen. You don't even have to create an environment. It happens very, very naturally. So when you're talking about professional development, I think all of us believe that strong schools are built on strong teachers. And you also mentioned that. And so as a school and as leaders, our role is to create an environment where teachers grow, not just in knowledge, but in confidence, collaboration, and leadership. So our focus has been on nurturing educators to become good subject experts, reflective practitioners, and lifelong learners. And a sense of, a teacher, we want a teacher to care deeply about her own students, or her students, and feel empowered to lead within and beyond the classroom. So we have, our professional development are in different layers. We have our own, since we are a group of 800 teachers, we try to use our own teacher resources. And apart from that, we also have very practical, ongoing professional development programs on an ongoing basis that addresses real classroom challenges. To just give you an example, last 2 years, we had about 50, 60 teachers who engaged themselves in self-leadership. So it was not something, it was not content management, it was not anything related to the curriculum, but it was about self-leadership. And we also have very strategic partnerships, and EI this year, like we have so many of our teachers participating in your misconception workshops, which I think, EI has helped to conceive these workshops, which provide, targeted training, in helping teachers, when it comes to clearing misconceptions and how we can probably rule out that in our own classrooms. So we have a strong culture of collaboration. So our teachers, our coordinators, our principals, and all of us, we come together, we share ideas, we solve problems, and we learn from one another. And I have to say this, that in Kumarans, our leadership team, whether it is identifying a principal or an academic coordinator or whatever it is, it's homegrown. It is our principal and our teachers who are selected from within. And this is a very, very conscious decision that we have taken. And this ensures continuity. The teachers who tend to be, become principals, understand our vision, understand our mission, understand our shared values. And this deep understanding of the school's culture and vision definitely helps, rather than having a principal, from outside to come and lead the school, who probably, will take him or her a couple of years to understand this. So that is something that we believe in very, very strongly. Our leadership team is homegrown.
Yeah. Leadership team is homegrown. That should be put on a t-shirt. That's such a wonderful thought. And in fact, I would like to actually add something to what you just said, and about empowering teachers and how teachers are, they take the initiative. You have a self-leadership activity going on in the school. So for me, having been part of EI and in my teaching journey as well, I've done capacity building workshops. I go to, and collaborating with teachers is something that I love a lot. That's like my calling. So I remember going to Kumarans, and I conducted a workshop on lesson planning, the interdisciplinary nature of social sciences. And I remember so clearly that the teachers were not only warm and welcoming, they were so full of ideas and questions. The coordinator for social sciences was sitting there, and I did not see at any point in time where I felt that they were feeling, okay, maybe I should not say this here, or maybe this is not the right platform to speak about this challenge. They were collaborating, talking, and they brought out those lesson plans, and they were just not receiving ideas. They were actually equal partners there, and they were talking about how we can bring this in the classroom, and the conversation actually went to, okay, well, what about we do it in the next session, or what about we do it in the next quarter. The conversations were wonderful, and I was just standing there listening to them, and they were brimming with ideas as to how we can incorporate this interdisciplinary nature of humanities in the classrooms. So that was a wonderful session that I had with teachers, because it was so lovely to hear their own thoughts. So you're bang on when you say that, you're creating leaders and they are homegrown. It's a beautiful thought, and it's actually happening in Kumarans. And well, the kind of professional culture, it just not happen by it doesn't happen by accident. It comes from the leadership. It comes from a leadership that trusts its teachers, it values its teachers. So thank you so much for sharing that, ma'am. So now, similar question I would like to pose to Nisha. So Nisha, for you, I want to know that from you, that what role has EI played in supporting educators and Kumarans overall? And how does EI ensure teacher support is at the crux of what the partnerships are about at EI?
Yeah, thanks so much, Saiqua. So actually, what I'm going to say is going to resonate a lot with what Deepa ma'am has already said, a lot about how everything starts with empowering teachers. And ma'am has so beautifully said that everything at Kumarans, all leadership positions are all homegrown. So even at EI, we have always believed that meaningful change in student learning starts with empowering teachers. So with Kumarans and at Kumarans, we have worked over the years very closely with educators, collaborating with them on various things, maybe from student thinking to classroom practices, learning gaps, understood how teachers think, understanding how students think. Across schools as well, we place teacher support at the core of our partnerships by listening first. So whether it's through one-on-one interactions, through workshops, webinars, or even building a culture of data-driven reflection, our goal has always been to support teachers in making informed, data-driven instructional decisions. So we work hand in hand to ensure that teachers never feel like EI is just another layer of work, but rather a partner that helps them do what they already care about, which is helping students learn better.
Yeah. I think you practically brought out EI's role as that we walk alongside teachers and we do not add to their load, but we help what already matters even more impactful. Coming back to you, ma'am, a question we saw in the video about how Kumarans, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So we saw in the video how Kumarans beautifully the schools balance traditional roots with progressive practices. And that led me to think, and I'm very curious to know that, I mean, how do you decide how do you decide what tech interventions you want to implement in the classroom, and staying true to the school's core identity?
Uh, Saiqua, we are a 64-year-old school, and we have gone through different generations, and I'm probably the third generation leading this school. And this is probably a question we visit often and revisit it and try to understand, and especially about how rapidly education landscape is evolving. And today we are talking about tech integration. We are talking about chat GPTs or AI, the broader terms, coming in into education and things like that. So yes, it's a very, very conscious step that we do, trying to keep our core values intact, but also tweaking our curriculum for the changing the changing landscape. So our core values could be the academic rigor or the cultural grounding that we have. All these things are the strong teacher-student relationships, or when we tell children, or we try to develop these values of humility, compassion, responsibility. Now, all these things are the anchors against which all our innovations are evaluated.
No way.
So, like to tell you that no idea is implemented in a school just because it's trending. I mean, that is something that we have always believed in, that just because somebody has it, it doesn't mean that, we should also follow it. We always ask this question, for ourselves, is whether does it uphold the academic by bringing in this innovation or bringing in this change? Does it uphold the academic quality and well-being of both the teacher as well as the student? And most importantly, does it align with our mission and values? And will it help teachers to become more reflective, more effective? So I would like to answer your question by saying that innovations are not rolled out blindly. They are implemented very thoughtfully with dialogues with the principal, with the academic coordinators, with the subject coordinators. And, since we have, 4 main schools, what we try to do is, we pilot it in just one school and see how it works. And if it works, and if the reaction of both the teacher as well as the student has been positive, then we try to implement it in the other schools. So probably if you're a single school, you could try it for a few classes, see how it works, rather than forcing it upon everybody and then asking them to do it, and then it falls flat on the ground. Any innovation can doesn't always have to sort of be successful. So I think that kind of helps us, so we are all the time grounded, and we revisit and try to understand whether this innovation is genuinely necessary or not.
True. And it kind of, if we think about it, and it's so rightfully said, ma'am, that sometimes even teachers and students themselves, they they start feeling claustrophobic in terms of how many innovations or tech interventions can we work with.
Yeah.
So you have to keep going back to it and say that, okay, this is working with my kids. And with each kid's needs being different, we have to innovate the innovation. We have to keep changing it and upgrading it. So I completely
But I have to tell you this,
thought.
When EI came with Asset, at that point of time, it was only Asset, we, said, okay, we're going to have it across all schools, and probably that's the only innovation we kind of implemented in all our schools at one point of time. And I have to be honest about this.
Lovely. Yeah. And thank you so much for that. I mean, so I missed you in the middle. So you said that when Asset came in, that's one innovation that the school
we
has
implemented in all our schools at one point of time. We didn't try it on, we didn't pilot it in one school, but we tried it all.
Yeah, amazing. So as a follow-up to that, ma'am, I wanted to hear your thoughts on how with education and how it has changed so much. And you touched upon pandemic earlier in the conversation. So coming back to the pandemic point, how has Kumarans adapted to those shifts? And what are some of the changes that are lasting and that you see have become grounded in the way that you work with the students?
Uh, Pandemic or COVID has taught us, I think, has taught many a schools many a lessons, and probably I think it has taught us the value of resilience, and being very adaptive and being jumping and jumping into the digital world where some of our teachers were not even trained to do that and things like that. So that has I think post pandemic, I think blended learning has now become part of our DNA. It's just not a pandemic workaround just because, we are used to using, technology or integration of technology. But I think we are using it as a meaningful way to personalize instruction. And as I said earlier, our interactive boards that we use is, it's very hands-on for the teachers, and it's just not glorified PPTs that they probably use. And a teacher might bring in a kind of a movie from YouTube, or make her own presentations, or draw an article, and in the higher classes. And then so I think post pandemic, I think our teachers have embraced technology a lot more better, and we've also grown very more reflective in our practices. And I think post pandemic or COVID has also taught us that well-being of both the teacher as well as the child, it has moved to the forefront now. So when we talk about life skills, we talk about mindfulness, we talk about counseling, we talk about emotional support, they're no longer extra, but they are embedded in our everyday school life. Now, for example, to just give you an example, I don't know how relevant it is, but we've introduced art of living, in grades 4th to 7th, where children, have learned to calm down. And post that, and we do have regular sessions happening, and it has helped the children to kind of temper down and things like that. So through all these changes that we probably have adapted post-pandemic, I think what we are trying to understand, or I would like to summarize, is that today education is no longer about delivering content. I mean, definitely not. I mean, today a student can, sort of get enough and much more on the wide web, and doesn't need us as teachers to guide them through. But I think schools are here to stay, and we have to ensure that we are building resilient learners and adaptable learners, and learners who are lifelong learners. And I think this is very, very important. And as we talk about the students, I think even the teachers need to be equally adaptable and reflective. And if that doesn't happen, then somewhere, education will start stagnating.
Agreed, ma'am. Lifelong learners, resilient, adaptable learners. That's a beautiful thought. So before I open the platform for education for questions, I wanted to inform the audience that the documentary that was shown on Kumarans, it's now available on YouTube, and the link for the same is now being shared on chat. Please do click on it, go have a look. And before we close, before we open for the questions from the audience, one final question for the panelists today. Deepa ma'am, I want to ask the one enduring lesson from the Kumarans EI partnership that you hope other educators and school leaders take away. What would it be?
I think, as I said, even in the video, I think the contextual relevance of EI, I think that is very, very important. And that is that is something that's very close to our hearts as in Kumaran, because, that helps. Like you also gave an example. I mean, we used to earlier have different kinds of exams or diagnostic tests that were more from the Western concept, and our children were never exposed to it. I mean, not at least probably to a certain extent the urban children, but I think the contextual relevance is very, very important. And if I have to talk about one product of yours, I mean, we use MindSpark, we use DA or the detailed assessments, but I think, we use MindSpark for grades 4 and 5 in all our schools. And this adaptive nature that, depending upon the child, where the focus is on the child's understanding and not just grade level expectations. So if a child is somebody who's in class 4, and if his or her learning is in class 3, it kind of gears the child, towards that and builds up the child's confidence. And I think that is very, very, interesting, and probably, something that we also deeply appreciate as a school, because, being able to help the child. And yesterday when we were talking about it, I think Nisha was also telling me that how asset, the performance of the asset, and especially in maths, and how it can be related, to your MindSpark, when you log it. I think that's great, because then, you're completing the loop and you're completing the processes, which I think is excellent. I mean, it's just not isolated data that is there.
Yes.
So you're trying to bring it all together. And I think as schools, we need to understand that. Don't look at it as just vertical, saying that, okay, I've done an asset, I've done a MindSpark, or I've done a DA, or I've done, how can you assimilate everything and see how you can, sort of improve your learning of your teachers as well as your students.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because in fact, all three products, I mean, I feel that MindSpark, Asset, and DA, this was Nisha's way, and I said that in the beginning of the conversation, she connects the dots and she makes the larger picture. And they do work. It's an interconnected network, because the curriculum is the same, the learning outcomes are enduring. So that kind of works in tandem with each other, the questions and the three products. So Nisha, coming to you, from the point of view of EI's long-standing partnership with Kumarans, what is that one key insight you want to share with other schools aiming to build long-term lasting impact?
Yeah, definitely. It's a wonderful question, and I think I'll just agree with what Deepa ma'am said. Even I'm going to talk a little bit about data. I think that's really important, how to connect the dots and how to make good use of data. So I would say sustained impact definitely comes from a deep commitment to using data, not just for reporting purposes. Like ma'am said, it's not just a standalone thing, but for real instructional design and decisions. So at Kumarans, I think both the leadership and the teachers, they consistently engage with student learning data, not just to track progress, but to actually diagnose learning gaps through asset, rework teaching strategies, and follow through with timely interventions. Like ma'am was saying, to close that entire loop of not just understanding what students think, but what are we actually going to do about it and how to take it further. So this culture, I think, of using data as a living working tool rather than just a static report makes a significant difference over time. So for other schools, the takeaway is extremely clear. When data becomes a part of our everyday academic dialogue and not just like an annual ritual, real change actually begins to take root.
So I was very jokingly telling Nisha, when I met her, I said, we should also have these conceptions in social science and other things, because, that is one. I mean, I'm a social science teacher, and I feel, it's very important. And especially now, it's very important to kind of get teachers to, bring in that connection. So that is my humble request to EI.
Yes,
definitely.
And Nisha, what you just said, right? I mean, it reminds us that data, it has to become part of everyday teaching that we get from the insights that we get from the students' results. Because and when data stops being just a report and it starts actually helping teachers make changes. It drives the lesson planning, it drives classroom instructions, how you are teaching a certain concept. It can change it every year, every day, in fact. So and how teachers teach and how students learn. So thank you for sharing that, Nisha. And we must have that conversation that you had with Deepa ma'am. I would love to know. The moment the social sciences gets dropped in the conversation, my ears perk up. I would love to talk about that. So before I wrap up the session, there is this one question from Ms. Nivedita Paul. She asks that what is that one small actionable step that we can take today to improve our well-being, and how can we support each other in achieving it? I think I'll pose that question to you, Deepa ma'am.
Okay, one small actionable step that leaders can take or the management can take to improve your teachers' well-being is to firstly respect teachers. I
Oh
think
God,
that
yes.
is so important, and they are they come with certain expectations, and you also have your own expectations. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's very important to respect your teachers. And how can we support each other in achieving it? I think as a school, you can't work in silos. You have to have that collaboration. And especially for a newly inducted teacher, when he or she comes into your school, I think it's very important for them to understand, and that if that culture of collaboration is there, then you support each other, and you'll be able to achieve, well-being of your teachers and well-being of your students too. That's what I think.
No, I agree with you, ma'am. In fact, I clearly recall you saying that teachers themselves, they have their own, when we talk about personal lives, they have homes, they have their own other chores to think about, their own responsibilities to think about. So respecting that and what they bring to the classroom, it's so important. So thank you for, and I hope that answers your question, Ms. Paul. So we come to an end of this wonderful session. I loved talking to both you and Nisha about
Thank you so
this
much. It was
partnership that we've had with Kumarans. And I just want to summarize with some few beautiful terms that ma'am took. The one that stood out was mindfulness and mindful curriculum. Then a monthly goal calendar for good behavior. That was another this gem that you threw at us. And then emotional regulation, that is so important, especially considering the evolving in the world that we're living. It's just in flux all the time. So thank you, Deepa ma'am, and thank you, Nisha, for sharing your philosophy of the Kumarans Group of Schools, and where ethics and values, they go hand in hand with practical realities of day-to-day school life. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Nisha, thank you, Saiqua, and thank you, EI.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone who has joined us, and I hope you take away some valuable lessons that I am taking away from Deepa ma'am especially. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.